Anime games are in a pretty bad situation right now, and this has especially been a topic since the new release of Hunter x Hunter Net Impact, which didn't go well at all, and I mean in any way. And I know there's an issue where people focus on Steam numbers so much, but you can't deny those Steam numbers are pretty abysmal, especially considering the game doesn't have crossplay and the game itself just runs like complete, But I want to talk about why anime games are in such a bad place right now, not just Hunter x Hunter, but the games in general, in terms of releases and longevity, what the devs could do differently, the publishers, and even us fans. But before I get into that, don't forget to hit that like button and that subscribe button, it helps me immensely. I'm trying to hit 2,000 subs as soon as possible, and you can help me with that for free by pressing the buttons down below. And also I want to say, I'm not an expert, I'm just a fan just like you guys. But with that said, I'm your boy Kaizen, and let's get straight into it. So firstly, my first thought is, these games release as terrible products quite often, but at their core, they're good games. Now what do I mean by a good or bad product? Well, let's look at Bleach Rebirth of Souls for example, because I do really like Bleach. At its core, the gameplay is really fun, although it has its issues that get fixed. Well, there's been like 2 big updates so far, and we probably won't get another big update until the next DLC release. But as a product, what was the issue? Because I think that's where the game failed. Well, first of all, let's look at the online. The netcode wasn't great, the matchmaking process was horrible, and the game is region locked. As if it wasn't hard enough to find a match as it was, especially with green bars. You're limited to people in your region, and there's no crossplay. I feel so bad for people on PC, no matter what region. Like, I follow some people in Asia that play on PC, bro, there's like a handful of them at best. And you want to play ranked? Even worse. So how could Bleach become a good product while also being the good game that it is at its core? Well, genuinely just polishing the game up. Better online, no resolution drops, better matchmaking, no region locking, and at this point, rollback and crossplay is a dream for these games, but I have to at least mention it, right? Now that does bring me on to the budget. And while some of these games have decent budgets, there is the topic of the budget being distributed badly or like in the wrong areas. For example, there's 2 sides to this topic, right? Many people would argue that they should focus on the single player content and put their money there, whereas others, they say that we should focus on, or the devs should focus on putting their money towards the online aspect of things, to increase player longevity. And I get that, because I'm at a point now where whether the game releases with 1,000 players on Steam, I don't even play on Steam, but for example Steam, or 10,000 players, I care more about it maintaining a decent player retention rate, However, I also see the argument about single player content, because first of all, not everyone cares about multiplayer, and also when the single player content is at least good, usually the fan response is a lot better, But then there's the argument, you have to at least have a story mode for these games. It's like if they focus too much on online and make the story mode trash, like anime cutscenes where they just take screenshots from the anime, there's always going to be people taking the piss online, I guess that's why maybe they should have shorter story modes, but you're never going to please anyone in that regard. But I guess that's where we come to genre variety. What I mean by this is, look, you have your multiplayer games, but you also have your single player games. Single player games like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, or a newer, more, niched example, the new Eden Zero game. Eden Zero by the creator of Fairy Tail. It got a single player game, and it seems pretty decent. It's a single player story mode RPG game, and honestly all around it just looks good. Obviously nowhere near the budget and visuals of a DBZ Kakarot, but that's why I think it's a good example, because not everything is going to get a DBZ Kakarot treatment. Now this game is not multiplayer at all as far as I'm aware, but it just does what it does pretty decent. Nothing too special, but imagine a treatment like that but for Bleach or Naruto. I know the Naruto fans are desperate for something like that. And then when you do have the multiplayer games, the devs can only focus on multiplayer, and I guess maybe co-op too. And if you gotta have a story mode, make it short and sweet. Because look, when you look at something of like Bleach Rebirth of Souls, I personally love the story mode because it's long. I haven't finished it yet, I need to get back on that, but it's long and it tells the story quite well, and it's not anime screenshots. But on the other hand, you can see where they had the budget cuts. Hopefully it's much better in the sequel, although even with like the lower quality animation at times, sometimes they have good animation, sometimes it's meh. But I really think at least they could have polished it up a bit with more time, like to cook. Like the resolution drops, I genuinely think that was just them not cooking enough, like development time, and that's something that should be fixed. That even happens like when you're playing normal matches, like during the ultimates, the resolution like drops in quality. That's an issue that should be fixed. And a little thing I want to mention because of that, development time. These games shouldn't be rushed. Like, I feel like at most a lot of these games get like 2 years to cook. I really think it should be more than that, especially games like Bleach that cover like story, online, survival mode, all that good stuff. Even has like extra story mode. Whereas other games, maybe My Hero Academia, the new upcoming one, or even like a non-anime game like Tekken, short story modes but high quality, and then they focus on the multiplayer. However, in the case of Hunter x Hunter, I don't know what they were doing, because I'm pretty sure that game got delayed by like 8 months or 9 months, and it makes me wonder what the hell did they do in that big ass delay. Because first of all, the online, it has like the worst rollback I've ever seen in a 2D fighting game. The product is ass. The cutscenes are like, the story mode might as well just be a tutorial. It practically is. And this is just based on me playing the demo and also watching it on YouTube and Twitter. I don't know what's going on with that game. They need to at least make a statement what they did during that delay, because there's no way they tested this out and, you know, they thought this was alright. And that brings me on to the next topic, which is a lack of online testing and demos, and I believe it's so that they can increase pre-order numbers. Hear me out on this. Now, there has been games where there was online testing. Funny enough, one of the most infamous games, Jump Force, had an online beta test, and I think most people agree that the beta test was better than the actual game. I don't know what the hell happened. I don't even want to talk about that because it just breaks my heart. But more online beta testing, where you can actually do PvP online, not like Hunter x Hunter. We need stuff like that to see the glaring issues, if there are glaring issues like in Hunter x Hunter, before the game comes out, before we give them our pre-order money or buying it at all, and also so we can give our feedback so that the devs can improve the game. But why wouldn't they do that? Maybe because they don't want us to know about these issues, so that we just pre-order the game straight up and they take our money and dip with it. You know, no repercussions other than a couple refunds if you're on PlayStation, if you're lucky. And that also applies to some other games. Like if you look at Demon Slayer, I know they have it at exhibitions and stuff, the new Demon Slayer game, which is coming out in like what, 2 weeks. However, as Gloku said, they don't even let you film it most of the time, if at all, likely because it's a tactic where if players do have an issue with how the game plays or looks, they might not pre-order it. And of course, that's like a big issue for, you know, the publishers, Bandai, Sega, whatever. They want us to pre-order it and not have any issues. And that kind of shows a sign of like lack of confidence in the product. Not all the time though, I think genuinely they just don't want to risk it. And with demos like Hunter x Hunter, yeah, you can play the game offline, but we saw like how that ended up, right? People didn't even pre-order the game, at least on PC. The demo didn't have online, the story mode was ass, let's be honest now. Didn't even have full-on voice acting, just grunts like Hisoka. No real voice acting. And look, I hate bringing up Steam numbers over and over, but it's all we can go off for now. But we do need to talk about Steam numbers in a different way though. So with us fans, and by the way, this is a topic about us fans, or us players, right? With us guys and girls, of course, looking at the Steam numbers so much over and over again, it's giving people a bad perception of the game, whether it's good or not, and gives us the idea that a game is dead. Not saying the games can't be dead, like Hunter x Hunter possibly being dead already, or dying very fast, not even getting to live really, which discourages people from buying it in general. However, you don't know, the PlayStation fanbase could be huge. I genuinely believe the PlayStation fanbase, the player base for Sparking Zero is huge compared to the PC base. Not to say the PC base doesn't have a legit player base as well, but compared to the PlayStation base, it's nothing. I find matches on Sparking Zero no problem most of the time. So with people focusing on Steam numbers so much, it does result in a lot of doomers and also even some false hate. That's something I'm going to talk about in a second. But real quick, I do want to at least acknowledge that looking at Steam numbers is understandable to an extent, especially if you're a PC player. And you know why? Because 9 times out of 10, these anime games don't have crossplay. So if you are looking to buy like, I don't know, Bleach or Hunter x Hunter and you didn't pre-order it, and now the game has what, 100 people on Steam, and it doesn't even have like, oh, it has region locking, no, you're screwed, let's be honest now. Especially if you're not in North America and maybe Europe like me. But this does result in a lot of doomers and, you know, just hate on a product. Like Sparking Zero hate on TikTok at this point. Don't get me wrong, you guys who have followed me for a while, you know I am so critical of Sparking Zero, even of Bleach, of all these games. Literally one of my best videos. The first thing you see when you click on my YouTube channel on the home screen is a video about anime games sucking. That's the first thing you can see. You can check it right now if you think I'm lying, right? And that was before Sparking Zero, before Bleach, before all of that. And I stand by it. And this video is kind of like a follow-up to that video, by the way. But what do I mean by spreading false hate and dooming? Look at Bleach Rebirth of Souls. Before the game even came out, there was videos on TikTok, on YouTube and everything, people saying the game is dead already. Bro, the game had a pretty good launch on consoles. It was only the Steam launch that was kind of ass. And at that time when they made the video, you gotta understand, it's easy to say that in hindsight, but when they made these videos, they did not know this stuff. They were saying it purely for views, guys. And this is a big issue, not just in the anime game sphere, but in gaming in general. It's full of people spreading hatred because it's a quick way to get views and then move on to the next thing, ruining the reputation of products for the actual fan base to suffer from. If a video goes viral calling, I don't know, Xenoverse free ass before it comes out, and then that video blows up and people believe it, the people that were actually excited for that game are gonna have to deal with the repercussions. Let's be honest now. It's like damage control. They're gonna have to tell people, no, the game is working fine, or the game is fixed, you guys should come play the game. But then the player base could dwindle because of something like that. And you know what's a good example of that? One Piece Burning Blood. When that game came out, and I'm a victim of this too, I was just a kid at the time, I've never even played the game, I just watched it on YouTube, but I remember everyone and their mother saying, yo, there's only one combo in this game, there's only one button that does everything. Bro, that shit was not true. That was not true at all. But you know how people came up with that conclusion? Because a YouTuber or two said it online and then everyone rolled with it. That's the issue with early doomers spreading hate. You gotta wait for the product to come out and then go along with it. See how it goes. See if there is issues. See if the game has longevity. See if the single player content has quality or not. And if you don't want to risk wasting a pre-order on that, you know what you can do? Just don't pre-order the games, guys. And I'm not gonna lie, from now on I'm not gonna pre-order Demon Slayer. I'm not pre-ordering My Hero Academia. But you know what? I could see myself at least buying My Hero Academia One Justice Free, or All Justice, sorry. Not day one, week one, if the game is at least a decent product. By the way, I did do a video on that. You should see a link to that at the end. But yeah, however, due to that, you know, like pre-order numbers are definitely dropping due to all this, you know, flack that anime games are getting, and rightfully so. That's more reason why you shouldn't focus on Steam numbers too much. Instead, focus on player retention. Don't get me wrong, player count is something to at least keep an eye on, especially if the game doesn't have crossplay. If it's a multiplayer game, I also suggest, you know, opening up to different genres. Try out a single player game. Try out Kakarot, the Fairy Tail games, One Piece Pirate Warriors, Eden Zero. Try that stuff out. And also connecting with the fans online, the player base online. If you're a Bleach Rebirth of Souls player, connect with people online that you can play with, you know. Maintain the longevity of the game if you like the game, or at least do your part. And if it dies, then of course you have every reason to be frustrated, like I am in this video. But this was just me spitfiring some ideas, some thoughts, what things could be done differently by the devs, and I guess by us players too. However, I definitely missed some stuff out, whether it's some issues with some other games, some other reasons for these games struggling, whatever it may be. Please feel free to comment. I'll respond to every comment, no problem. Whether I said something stupid, please feel free to correct me if I was completely wrong about something, or if there's something that you agree with about what I said. Please feel free to comment below. And also, I talk a lot about this on Twitter. Follow my Twitter in the description below. Also, since you've watched this far, let's be honest, you clearly like my content, so why not check out the videos on screen now? I think you'll like them. And also, why the hell wouldn't you subscribe since you like my content? I'm trying to hit 2,000 subs as soon as possible, and I'm in this for the long run. I don't plan to quit ever. So have some faith in a small YouTuber and hit that like and subscribe button, and maybe one day I'll be a big YouTuber and you can say you're an OG on my channel. But with that said, I've been your boy Kaizen, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.